feeling like we can go ahead and get started. I'm Kristi Bowman, and I wanted to just check in with you, and maybe if we can just say our name and maybe what interested in coming here. My first book. I'm working on book number 2, but this is my first, and it's called Journey to One, a woman's story of emotional healing and spiritual awakening. And tonight what I thought we'd do, I wanted to introduce my loving partner over there, Tony. He's over.
Hi.
So in addition to writing, Tony and I also co-founded the Center for Sacred Movement, and that is an organization based in Sonoma County with the focus on well-being and health, spirit, mind, and body. So we support the community through yoga and opportunities to get out in nature and also bringing community together. So that's what we do. And I thought tonight we would talk a little bit about the book and the story, and also offer a guided meditation around releasing some of those things that really feel like they weigh us down and prevent us from really opening up and shining to our fullest. And an overview of the book is it's divided in 2 parts. You read it, so you're familiar with it, but those who haven't read it, it's divided in 2 parts. So it's exhale is the first part, and then inhale. So that exhale is really symbolic of that releasing that I did. I'll get more into detail on kind of multiple levels, but that ability to release those things that felt like they weren't me, so that I could then have the opportunity to really be me and breathe in that new life. So if you're like, yay! The release is good, so free up the space. And so it goes into the 2 aspects, the exhale and the inhale, and then there's 3 main themes or 3 main topics that I talk about in the book. And one of those is around religion and spirituality. The other one is around relationships, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my family, and particularly my mother in the story. She kind of plays a big role, fairly big role in there. And then emotional health, I guess, would be the third main focus there. So the emotional health coming from the book starts out where I'm in a very different place from where I am today. From a very serious, suicidally depressed, fractured, feeling very wounded and individual, to regaining my strength, regaining my integrity, and being that strong, vibrant, healthy, happy person that I find who I am now. So I talk about, spiritual awakening. Everybody has maybe their own take on spiritual awakening. Tonight, as I talk, making that personal to you, like what is spiritual awakening to you, or what is awakening to you? So there are definitely different paths that can bring us to remembering or discovering who we are, but ultimately it feels like a personal experience, and so letting that be your own personal experience. When I envision who we are, I see light. And I thought I'd use some props tonight. Props are always little. Remembering who we are, remembering this light. So it seems like when we're born, when we first come into the world, we can't help but really shine our light when we see newborns or see toddlers. They're expressive, they are who they are, they're running around, they're happy, they're dancing. And somewhere along the way, family situations or societal expectations, even religious influences, all those things can have an effect on our light and dampening our light. And some of those things can be constrictions that came upon us as we were younger. Others can be things that we take on as we get older. So who of us has had like a bad breakup experience or relationship experience? Almost all the hands, right? And sometimes those are very challenging to get through, and there's that anger and there's that frustration, and maybe there's resentment and blame and all those things that come up. other layers that we can put on ourselves, guilt, self-doubt, all those things can be layers. So over time, maybe that light gets hidden a little bit. We have our scarves here. So we throw on a layer of guilt, we throw on a layer of blame, and things get a little darker. What else do we do to ourselves to dampen our light?
Feel ashamed.
Feel ashamed.
Just don't think we're good enough.
Don't think we're good enough.
Lose trust in ourselves.
And then pretty soon, we hardly see our light anymore. And it's not that the light ever went away, it's just we layered all these things on top of it. So over time, hopefully we can bring more conscious awareness to those layers and begin to strip them away and remember that light that was there all along. And back out. And back at our core, woo, there's like so much light we can't even look at it. So as I mentioned earlier, the book starts out where I'm very depressed and I'm in a very sad place. Being able to move from that place to where I am today is a big transition, transformation. And some of the things that were contributing to the depression was religious beliefs that I was raised around. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and that can be very constricting, or there's a lot of black and white. So that particular belief system didn't feel comfortable for me. It didn't feel like a good fit for me. Who knew? So I had to work my way out of it, and that was a big thing to do because it meant letting my family go. It meant losing a lot of my friends, and literally I had to even move out of the house and move to a different location just to be able to explore some new things and some new options. So there was that, and then there's also a history of abuse in my family, so going through the emotional turmoil around that and coming back to a place of feeling whole. I felt I keep using the word fractured. I felt fractured for a long time and in pieces and not completely sure of who I was and how I all fit together. And eventually coming to a place of wholeness. So the exhale is a lot of releasing some of it's very raw and emotional. Some individuals who read it just say it's real. It's raw, emotional, and it's real too. So it's just my story. And I exhale all of that, and then moving into the inhale part of the story is really figuring out who I am or what my spirituality is. And after leaving the Jehovah's Witness religion, I was very anti-religion for a while and very much in my head and just kind of staying in that scientific. I eventually came back around to spirituality and what spirituality meant for me, and a lot of that I find through connecting with nature and also through yoga. I took a couple trips to a place called Teotihuacan in Mexico, and my roommate happened to be this shaman, and it was just like this mind-blowing experience and changed my life forever. I came back from Mexico and knew that I had to shift and alter my life in order to really allow myself to continue to grow. So I did that. So the story, I incorporate dreams, I incorporate meditation experiences, personal quotes from my journals. So there's a lot of tapestry that I weave together there in the story. Anybody have any questions that they want to ask me? Okay, go ahead.
I'm very curious about your exhale process. That is how you tangibly, how you let go of things that weren't serving you. That's what I'm in the process of doing.
Okay. One of the things that helped with the exhale process was taking one of those trips to Mexico. And Teotihuacan has these pyramids, these Toltec pyramids. I don't know if you've read about it or heard about it or been there, but there's this giant pyramid of the sun and a pyramid of the moon, and there's a pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, and there's this complex, and it's considered a very sacred place to be. And I went there the second time around. I was a little more open-minded than the first time I went. The first time I was like, what's going on here? I'm not quite sure. And then the second time I felt more open, and I felt in this place called the Women's Temple, which is you walk down underground and there's this well in the ground. It even goes down further, and that felt like a place where I could release. And it was really unexpected to me that I got into this space. I knew I wanted to let go of things. I wanted to let go of the abuse. I wanted to let go of the whatever conflict that was with my mother. I wanted to let go of all these things that felt like I was dragging along. And I did. I let go. I cried. I mourned. I went through this incredible mourning process. But it wasn't a sad, depressing process. It was just, it all finally came out, and it was able to then move forward from there. But that was a very tangible, real experience for me to go through, is to be in that temple and just like, let it all go.
Scratch around looking for a purpose. A word comes up that I didn't hear you mention tonight, but I want to talk about it for a moment. The word is happiness. What is happiness? Are you talking about happiness anywhere in here, or is that involved?
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely talking about happiness. Coming from a place of, I felt like I've lived in very drastic places, and one of the drastic was that deepest, darkest place of depression that I was in for a few years. And I feel like happiness is something that we can all achieve, and that is part of naturally of who we are. It's that same light that when a child is born and they laugh and they giggle at the silly little things that happen, and the happiness is one of our natural responses that I think gets squashed from some of that guilt and some of those layers that we put on. 2 more. Breathe it in. Maybe a smile, maybe some of that happiness emerges and shows on our face, shows on our lips.
Just add that I have read Kristi's book, and it is absolutely fabulous. She opens herself up. She is raw. She is honest. And you're so right when you said it takes a lot of courage, because it does, to make yourself that vulnerable. And she is a very gifted writer. Her writing speaks to each of us. It's very emotional, and I came away with a very huge respect for someone who could go through that and speak about it and do it in a way that is meant to help everyone else.
It's a book to help others.